So hey there, I'm Susie Houston. I'm Lifestyle Nurse Specialist with Vidant Lifestyle Medicine Clinic, and I'm here to make 3-bean chili. So we are going to go ahead and get started. We've got this big pot on here, got a little bit of olive oil, but I just wanted to go over the ingredients before we get started. So we've got diced white onion, we've got diced celery, we have got diced sweet bell peppers, diced green bell peppers, finely diced jalapeno, finely diced chili pepper with a few little seeds left in for good measure, good luck we'll call it, and minced garlic. Got those for our main getting started in the pot as we sweat down the onions. And then the other pieces that we've got, we're going to have diced tomatoes, give it the base. We're going to have corn to give it a little fresh little color. And then we've got black beans, pinto beans, and dark red kidney beans. So those will be our 3 beans for our chili. And then we've got chipotle peppers in some adobe sauce. Then we've got just salt and pepper to taste, and then our chili powder, our chipotle powder for a little extra smooth smoky flavor, and a little bit of cumin for good measure. So I think we've got everything ready. We are going to turn on, oh, this could take a while. I'm going to put enough on the bottom because we don't want things to stick. We are going to dump in the onions. They're going to be on the bottom. Got those in. So these are the things we just want to sweat off before we start adding. So this is the part that's going to help enhance the flavor. So as you cook it, and we are waiting for things to heat up. Okay, things are coming along, and it's no big deal if you've got that the onions and the oil in there. You're just going to keep an eye on it. So this isn't the time to head out and go do something in the yard. So stay with all this, okay? So got that in there. That's the celery gone in there, and we're going to throw in the peppers. So this is the bell peppers going in. And because you chopped all this, you might as well get everything, right? Got that. And so you can already start to hear things a-sizzling, so that's good. That's things heating up. And you want things to you don't want to stir. You want to give it some heat so that things can do magic in there. This will be, we're going to leave the jalapenos to the end because if you cook over it, it might go up your nose and then I'll be coughing or choking on it. So, and there's your red bell peppers. That's going to make it look pretty too. Get that in there. And then because we've got a lot going on, we're going to do probably half of that garlic. That was about 4 cloves of garlic in there. And you could, if you wanted, you could use garlic powder. However, you get the best flavor if you use the minced garlic. And you can get them whole already peeled, or you could get them already minced in a jar. And I noticed this morning that they are minced in a jar with water, or they could be minced in a jar with oil. So we are going to stir this up. And I hate to say that, I know it's early for Christmas, but it looks like Christmas in there. So we're going to just let that cook. And you're trying to just get that all softened up. And so while it's doing that, I'm going to just put my spoon down, and I'm going to grab some of the chipotle powder ground, and hopefully the lid stays on. So we're just going to give it a dousing of that. And that was probably a good teaspoon and a half maybe. And then the chili powder, oh, it's coming out mildly, so that's not fast enough for me. So I'm dangerously taking the lid off. And so if you look, I'm just shaking it so that it covers all the vegetables. So, because chili should smell like chili. There we go. And the reason you can get away with a fair amount, and that was like a good tablespoon of chili in there, is because the tomato juice, or the tomatoes and the beans and all that, they're going to spread out and kind of dilute that heat. So there we've got that, and it's still going nicely. Do that. So we got the chili powder in, the chipotle. I'm putting a little dash of cumin in there, just a teeny bit. And the salt and pepper, once you start putting the salt in, that helps sweat things out so you get a little fluid in there. So it seems like I did a lot of salt in there, but maybe that was like less than a teaspoon. And then we're going with the ground pepper. This gives you a little workout for your upper arms. Get rid of that swing that you might have. There we go. Now, if you didn't have, and if you don't like heat, so when you pay attention to the sauteing of the veggies right now, so that heat is going up your nose. Don't put your head over, you will choke from the spices. But you may notice that it's starting to dry on the bottom of the pan. So that's where you might want to, just to keep the stuff not sticking, put a teeny bit more oil in. And then that way it's going to not stick to the pan before you're ready to add all your other juicy ingredients. So before you add any of the tinned beans or tomatoes, you just want to make sure that your onions and things are cooked. You may even have, so right now it's on fairly high temperature. I would probably turn it down a little bit. And then here's where it's going to even be a little bit more. It's going to be, there's the jalapeno. I'm probably going to put, this is a big jalapeno, so I put half of it. It was a large one. It almost looked like a bell pepper, so be careful with those, because sometimes they're super hot and you don't know it till you've cooked a dish. So you might want to taste a little bit. If you like heat, that's fine, but if you don't, or you're not the biggest fan, you might ruin your chili and have too much heat there. Okay. And then I'm going to add, this is the chili peppers, so those came from our garden. I'm just putting about a half a teaspoon in there. There we go. So now you can kind of see that things are sweating down. It's not as vibrant because they've cooked off almost the colors. It still could be Christmas, but it's a little muddled. Okay. We're going to give you, and that is only taking us, what, maybe 5 minutes to get to where we're at with the cooking, so it's not too long once you get the oven or the stove going and you've got the heat on. So we're going to let the onions, just leave it for a minute. Alright, now we are going to get the stuff ready. And the reason that we're cooking this down, because you don't want to have the raw onions. And I've noticed some are a little bit bigger than I would like in there, but we're going to make it work. So I'm going to just cook it down some more so that the onions are cooking. Nobody wants the raw onions or garlic in their chili. Okay. And then next thing, I'm going to just add the tomatoes, and this is chopped or diced tomatoes. So watch the cans. There's a lot of tomatoes in the stores, and you might pick the wrong one. So if you've got crushed tomatoes, it's not the worst you could do. The whole tomatoes, you can always cut them up. Crushed tomatoes, well, you could still make it work. This just gives you a chunkier chili with the chopped ones or the diced ones. And because sometimes, you know, you might get it too thick, I will sometimes rinse it out with a teeny bit of water so I get all the juice, and then they can go in the recycle bin. So we've got that in there, and because we're going to throw the black beans in, so maybe I just wanted to show you before we get started. So here we are, almost looks like a goulash, but we are getting there. So got the beans. Oh, the strainer. Oh yeah, so and with the beans, so all of these we have just rinsed them out, used a strainer, and put them back in the can so that you could see what we've got going on. But it's a bit, beans are quite starchy, so you're going to find when you go to dump them out that there's going to be a little thickness to it. That's the starchiness that's come from the beans. All these beans, great source of fiber and great source of protein, and the two together work really well for a meal for you. And of course we know that beans have carbohydrates, and so you would just use that to make sure you are working on your diabetes plan. And probably about half a cup of this, that 3-bean chili would be about 15 grams of carbs. Or no, half a cup would be about 15 grams carbs. A cup would be about 30. So if you had that with some crackers or some cornbread, that could be your complete, carb meal. All right, so we've got all the beans in. Boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna add another can of the tomato. And so we're gonna add the corn in there. And I probably would like just half of the can. I think I put 3/4 of the can, so just with the recipe, we'll make sure. You just don't want it overpowering with the corn, but it's pretty in there for the color. So you don't want to have like a whole can like we did with the beans. Okay, so we've got that going. And then the last little part is this chipotle peppers in the adobe sauce. So we're gonna add that. If this spoon will work, we'll make it. And with this one, you want to make sure that you cut it, so probably go back. I'm going to just dump that in there. There we go. There. And so with these adobe peppers, they come in there whole, so you want to cut them up. You can pull them out. Sometimes you can put them in your little Nutra blender, or you can just put them out on a counter. They're quite pasty and like the red sauce, so you want to just keep it contained so it's not all over your kitchen. And then you would just cut them up so that they're in smaller pieces. All right, so put that around. And the last little thing is we're just going to put a little dollop of tomato paste. Okay, so when I mean dollop, we're not going to get a measuring spoon or anything, but we're just going to do, I don't know if you'd call this a dollop, but it's going to be a, so there's the, so it's maybe like tablespoon. There we go. And then you're just going to let this cook. Now, one of the things, and you may want to, so I'm going to just get a little spoon so we can test it, because then you want to see if you need more salt or more pepper. And so I'm going to just take a little spoon and put it in there and just give it a little bite and hope that I don't get all jalapeno, right? All right, here we go. So plenty of salt, plenty of pepper, and it's got a good little heat to it. You know, not hot from the cooking, but heat from the chili and the spices and ingredients we put in there. So it just depends how you and your family and friends like your chili, whether you would use the hot peppers or some of the cooler ones that would be like the bell peppers, okay? And so you would let that cook. Now, so just keep in mind, this is meatless, so it's a plant-based meal that you could have, and if you might want to just try it on your family. You don't have to say that it's that. Just say it's a 3-bean chili and see what happens. And you might be pleasantly surprised that they enjoy it. Okay. Adding in, this is like half a cup of couscous, and you can get it in all sorts. It comes at, the grocery store around here in a container. You can find it like that, or you can find it in bags. But it's going to be in there. It's like a noodle, but finer. And it's going to, it might trick even the meatitarians into thinking they've got a little bit of ground beef in there once it starts to cook. Now it is raw, and because there's a lot of fluid in there with the chili, it's going to help thicken it up, so it's not going to be as kind of soupy-like. So we're going to do that. And now we're going to just stir that in. And now you're going to put this on a simmer with the lid on, so that it can just keep it cooking down, and you're going to let that simmer for about 30 minutes. And then the other thing is that you, with this chili, so one day you can have chili for dinner, another day you could roll them up in tortillas and bake it for like an enchilada in the oven, and you could even like thin it down so that it could be Mexican soup. So you could make that into 3. And also the chili, it freezes really well. We had let the chili simmer for 30 minutes on like a low heat, and it boiled or bubbled or rolled along. We've got a little bit of sour cream, and that's optional, you don't need it. And we've got a little bit of parsley for prettiness. Nothing like making your chili look pretty there. And a little bit of green onions. Boom, boom, boom. And you are ready to enjoy your chili, our 3-bean chili.